Release the Kraken!
Welcome back, fellow game designers. This one we're going to go ahead and do some quick animations for our Not Steve, and then we'll bring him over into Unreal. So we already have him in there, we just want to have an animation so he can do something. First things first, we're going to go ahead and take our current position, and we're going to save this, so save as, and we're going to name this whatever the animation is. So in this case, we're going to do idle. And for the idle, I really don't need a whole lot of stuff. I think in the actual game, he just kind of actually stands there. But we do need a position to be baked for at least one frame. So I'm going to grab his root bone here. And I'm just going to drop in on frame 1 a keyframe. And then I take my animation timeline, drop that down to 2. You have to have at least 2 frames. We don't need to bake the other one, that's fine. We'll just save this here. And then we will take the skeleton, so grab the root joint, and then export selection. Okay, so I'm going to select my Not Steve's bind pose. I'm going to go ahead and change this out to idle. This time we want to make sure we check the animation box. And we also want to make sure that we have the correct number of frames with bake animation. So we have 2 frames. So frame 1 to frame 2, frame 1 to frame 2, and animation and bake animation. Export. We are going to now save out again, so save as. And let's go ahead and make this one the walk. Now the reason I'm saving these in different files is if I want to make changes to these particular animations, I don't have to disrupt an animation that's currently in progress or vice versa. So I always have a way of going back and keeping a working file. Okay, for the walk cycle, I'm going to go ahead and set this to 24. And then I'm going to set the range to 24 as well. That way I can just see everything. Okay, so frames 1 to 24. And I'm going to get into a position to where it's easy to see what Steve is doing. Alright, I'm going to take my left leg here. Actually, that's his right leg. I'm going to do left leg forward on frame 1. And then I'm going to take the right leg, I'm going to put it back some. And if I go into a side view, it'll be easier to see. Good enough. We do want to make sure that the feet do not float. So as he's walking, we're going to make an adjustment to the height here. But we'll take care of that in just a second. So one leg forward, one leg back. And then if the left leg is forward, then the left arm should be backward. So I'm going to rotate that back some. And I'm going to do the opposite for the arm. Good enough. We'll take a look from the side view. Kind of make sure that the distance that is being traveled isn't too extreme here. It's just a walk cycle. Cool. Now I'm going to select the whole thing and then key it, because I have not been keying as I go. It's a good idea to key as you go, but I just didn't do that. So I'm going to go up to select, do all by type, get all my joints. And I'm going to go ahead and hover over the first frame and hit S. That's going to key everything. So now all of the joints have a keyframe. Okay. I'm going to go all the way to the 24. I'm going to press the S key again and drop a new keyframe there. Okay. Because our starting frame and our ending frame will be the same. And then our middle frame, which is going to be 12, I'm going to the opposite. Now it's really handy to turn auto key on. That's this little swirl right here. It looks like that. If you turn that on, once you set a keyframe for the first time, whenever you change that keyframe, it'll update for you. So if I go ahead and take this arm, for example, and I rotate it, you can see there's no key here. And I rotate to match the other arm. Bink. Suddenly I have a new keyframe. Okay, I'm going to go back to frame 1. And let's see, we had that rotated at 3597. I'm just going to go ahead and borrow that number. Grab my other arm. come back to frame 12. Now I'm on the opposite arm at this point. So I'm on that arm. I'm just going to paste that number in. So Control V. There we go. Oops. Cool. And if I scrub the timeline, you'll see that those now move. We get some interpolation, which is awesome. I'm going to rinse and repeat that for the legs. So I'm going to take a leg, I'll move one back. Make sure you're on the correct keyframe. You see I'm on the wrong keyframe? Once I update this, I just messed up my frame. So I'm going to Control Z that. Pay attention to your time. Okay, make sure I'm on the correct frame. Now I can update it. Okay, I'm going to go back to frame 1. I'm going to borrow this number. So Control C. I'm going to grab the other leg, go to frame 12, and I will paste that in. Hey, so now we should have opposite motion. And if I scrub the timeline, we got this. Hit play, we should have a playback. If this is going too fast, you can adjust the time here. So Window, Settings and Preferences. Come down to Time Slider, and then go down to Playback speed. In the drop down, we're going to choose 24 times 1. The default is every frame, which is a little bit too quick. So I'll go ahead and do 24 by 1 and hit save. And it should be a speed about that fast. I'm going to go ahead and choose the root joint. Go to File, come down to Export Selection, and we will export the animation. That's going to be walk. Make sure that animation is checked, bake animation is checked, and we're on the correct frames. So 1 to 24, 1 to 24. Everything looks good. We'll go ahead and export. Now you may be inclined to export the skin with this, but you don't have to, because we already have the skin on the bind pose. So we're just taking the animation from the skeleton. Okay, so that's pretty much it on the quick animation. In the next one, we're going to go ahead and add these into Unreal. Alright, make sure you save your work, and I shall see you next time. Hey guys, thanks for checking out my channel. Misty and I both thank you. If you've enjoyed that video you just watched, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, I do have official merch and a Patreon somewhere in the link down below. Also, keep your eye out for the devlogs for Blockout and Rocket Flip. Those are 2 games that are coming out for Lame Duck Studios, officially released and all that good stuff. And if you guys want to see how those are being put together and the process that I've been going through, stay tuned for that. You'll be seeing those coming up here soon. And don't forget that I create new content on Sundays and I release content on Wednesdays. So stay tuned, and I shall see you next time.